Don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to. Good morning. Good morning. So I figured we could talk today. It's kind of inspired by something from this morning and last night, and just had a lot of stuff kind of wafting around my mind. Good morning, guys. So, as you can tell, this is not the usual morning peppy talk. I'm not in my car driving to the gym. I'm so frustrated with myself. It's ridiculous. I'm so frustrated with myself. Um, I've been working out so hard, and I totally did not respect the boundaries, the limitations of my body. So not funny. I believe I have a hairline fracture in my collarbone. So now I'm sidelined. I'm so frustrated with myself for that. I'm I'm so frustrated with myself. It's all right. There's really nothing they can do, even if I go to the ER. So I just got to slow it down. I got to slow it down. Sometimes the mind works the opposite way, where instead of overly limiting you, sometimes the mind is capable of way more than what the body is. And when you don't find the balance, you get injured. Yeah. So I'm sidelined, and it's got me thinking quite a bit. It's got me thinking about spirituality and ego. It's a very tight, thin line between the two. It really, really is. Ego serves to grow you in so many different ways. Only if you listen, though. Only if you pay attention. So I had read a comment last night. I finished my Pisces live stream, and I read a comment that was left after. And I mean, this isn't really about the person commenting. Okay. This is a very common thing that I witness. And really, like the term woke was used repeatedly. Like, this person is woke. How do you deal with unwoke? And, um, in reality, the term woke is actually part of a draconian matrix. We exist within a draconian created matrix. If you're not familiar with what draconians are, you could almost call them overlords. They help to create society as we know it. They help to design the separation, the competition. In our early development, we actually were not competing, we were co creating. And then distortions were inserted within our holographic templates. This world is a holograph. So distortions were inserted, and we became competitive. We no longer co-created. We began to compete with each other. And when you begin to use terms like woke, you have to know you're participating in that paradigm. You're participating. You've become one of the tools of separation. We are all woke. Our entire species is an enlightened one. By virtue of your existence, you are enlightened. Enlightened is what we are, every single last one of us. Now, the differences in individuals is the level of amnesia. Having amnesia does not negate the fact that you are already woke. But using terms such as woke, all it does is further perpetuate the separation. That's all it does. And the way I see it, because, I typically don't like to share these things with people just because it's like I don't want to be the person that points out how ridiculous you sound, that you're really not as woke as you think you are. You're not as advanced as you choose to believe because you haven't gotten yet that you're still participating in the very program that's running. So last night, though, or was it last night? I think it was last night. They asked me a direct question. If you ask me a direct question, I will answer you. That's just how I am. If you ask me a direct question, I will answer. And so I shared this, and I also shared that, you know, for someone who truly is uh, serving as a light, why would you remove yourself? Because that was also said. How do I remove myself from this darkness so I can better shine? I mean, that question alone, you don't grasp. A light is at its most useful in the darkness. That's where you shine the best. That's where you should be. When you begin to wonder how to separate yourself from individuals because they're not as woke as you are showing you're not really as advanced as you think. And this is not a competition. That's why I can say that and not feel badly. This is not a competition. This is about helping people to realize where they're at and what needs to be worked on, what needs to be observed within. Ego will really get you all bent out of shape. If someone says something like that to you, you'll get all bent out, and they did get bent out of shape. I'm sorry. To me, it's like, would you ask a question? Why would you ask a question? Only to receive the answer and tell the person, no, you're wrong. Why not just like, I don't really see that about me, but let me take a moment to see what this person is talking about. What is this person talking about? If you were to say things about me to me, I wouldn't be like, no, you're wrong. You don't know me. I would be like, huh, I wonder how much of this is true and how much I just haven't recognized about myself. And maybe I'm just weird like that. I don't know. I don't know. But I would definitely observe. I would definitely observe. And the reason I felt the need to say something to that extent, and it wasn't telling him off either, just kind of calmly sharing my thoughts, is because I recognize this is a mirror of me. That person is a mirror of me. At one point in my journey, that was me. That was me feeling like it was my job to wake people up. And it's like, no, we're here standing shoulder to shoulder with each other, walking each other home. I used to get frustrated. Like, why don't these people understand? I used to use terms like sheeple. And as a matter of fact, I was the one that coined the term sheeple. It was years ago. Years ago. Yeah, I coined that term. So I don't think I'm better than anyone. I recognize my development. I do. My development is very unique to me. Doesn't mean anything for anyone else. It's me. It's my journey. It's my responsibility to now begin really reflecting on how my behavior is being shaped by my environment, by my decisions or lack thereof. And, you know, spirituality is not a badge of honor. It's nothing more than a path, a walkway back home, home to yourself, to your authenticity, where you don't have to compete. You're not comparing. Instead, you've risen to a level of inner and understanding that can afford you the luxury of co-creating once again. It's difficult for people to understand this type of logic when they're still fully participating in a draconian paradigm. It's a false king of tyranny matrix that we exist within. If Jesus Christ is considered the king, the Son of God, the false king of tyranny would be the Antichristos program. That's the matrix we exist within. It's one that perpetuates suffering through division and competition. So if you find yourself comparing, if you find yourself practicing spiritual things because it makes you somehow superior, in your eyes at least, you have to question that. You really have to question that. Why do you practice yoga? Why do you meditate? Why do you read these books on spirituality? Why do you study tenets of religious teachings? Is it to grow you, or is it to show other people how much you've grown? Be very honest with yourself. I have no judgment for you. I have no condemnation, because every single person that comes across my path is a mirror of a fractal of me. Whether it be a part of me that I've outgrown, a part of me that I'm growing into, I do recognize every single one of you are a mirror of that. So when someone is nasty to me, I recognize that's a reflection of me too. At one point, to some individual, I was that. And it's not about, oh, this is my payback, this is my karma for being rotten. No, this is a gifted opportunity for me to learn the impact of my harshness on another person's heart. That's all it is. Right, Jake? It's all a reflection. It's all a reflection. All of us are reflecting parts of each other. Every single last one of us. And when you refuse to see, when someone loves you enough to hold a mirror up and you refuse to see who's really in the wrong, if someone has to be wrong, okay, because this is the type of system we live in, there has to be one person that's right and one person that's wrong. Whenever there's an exchange, that's what we see. That's what we're accustomed to. So who is really wrong? If you're refusing to see the gift in that moment, who's really missing out? A lot of spiritual bypassing occurs because there are those who fail to realize they are attempting to dominate a sovereign soul with their thoughts, with their energy, with their action. And then there are those who enable this abusive behavior because it's somehow spiritually advanced to allow people to treat you that way. That you are to just take that and be quiet, and that's how you show you are compassionate, spiritually evolved. I don't think so, but that's just my opinion. That's definitely just my opinion. I think one of the most beautifully empowered things you can do is hold them accountable. Hold them accountable for the words they choose and the manner in which they deliver it. You have something important to share with me. You feel it's important, so you deliver it in a passionate way. And your version of passionate is disrespectful to me in my heart. How does it honor anyone if I just let you think that's okay? Isn't it more loving to make it known, hey, I'm not quite understanding what you're trying to say. I just know that it's, for some reason, it feels offensive to me. And it's not your job to not offend me, but I'm trying to recognize where this is coming from. I'm wondering if this is something that needs to be addressed within me, or if it's something that needs to be addressed within you. But whatever your message is, it was lost in the delivery. Let's talk about it. Let's understand each other. We don't have to agree. But it's nice when we can care enough to try and understand the root causation of that symptomatic presentation. It's a behavioral symptom of an energetic root. And sometimes people behave in that way simply because they're so accustomed to no one listening. And so they get aggressive in their expression of their thoughts. And they're just like, you have to hear me. You have to hear me. This is important. This will help you to grow, failing to realize that is an attempt to dominate a sovereign soul. We don't have to agree. We don't have to listen. When you honor someone's sovereignty, when you exist as a sovereign, you have to honor another person's sovereignty. And when you're able to do that, true communication happens. There's no longer a competition of who knows more, who's more right. Instead, there's just a sharing of thoughts, and that's where the real growth happens. Right, Carrie. She says, I would hope people are seeking to grow and hone their own innate abilities and become sovereign, though some get into it to prey on desperate seekers not offering tools to empower. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is why I'm so adamant that no, you will not speak to me that way. I will vocalize my lack of desire to participate in that exchange. I am a sovereign. You do not get to address me in that way. You get to share your thoughts, you get to coexist, you get to co-create, but you do not get to dominate me. And if need be, I will flex back. I will be that mirror with no fear and no shame, no guilt, no hesitation. I prefer to be soft. But if you require me to be hard in order for you to understand you are reaching the boundaries of my kingdom and you will not enter, then I will become hard. But that's a choice you're given. You guys recognize that. Recognize that because this holds true for you as well. Okay? You are a king or queen of your kingdom. Your auric field is your kingdom. A king or queen will not allow an interloper to disrespect the sacred grounds they exist within. We all have crown chakras for a reason. Straighten out that crown. Act like the sovereign you are. Does that mean you have to fight with everyone? No. Stay outside my field and nothing has to happen at all. You can be as disrespectful as you want outside my boundaries. Talk shit about me all you want. That's fine. Express yourself. Show people what kind of character you have. Has nothing to do with me. We get so bent out of shape. People talking shit. Let them continue to illustrate their character. They ain't got to use your paint. Use your paint to create something beautiful, something of substance, something so beautiful that when people look at it, they see the beauty of life through your eyes. Good morning, baby. How powerful is that? That you could use your colors to create and perpetuate beauty instead of continuing to participate in a paradigm of separation, destruction, competition. If you can celebrate someone else's success, if you can listen to another person sharing their disagreement of your stance and not be offended, just kind of like taking it in and listening and seeing how this can grow you. How powerful is that? What level of transmutation have you reached to be able to do that? Just think on these things. I'm no more advanced than you. No more powerful. Definitely not worthy of being on a pedestal. Nor do I want to be. I want to be right there in the trenches with you guys. Standing shoulder to shoulder. And if that's not what you want, that's also okay. That's okay. You don't need to want to stand beside me. But just know, I will not accept your invitation to war. You have to do that on your own. And that's one of the most powerful things that I learned for myself. It took me a very long time to learn this. I don't have to show up for every single war I'm invited to, every single battle. I don't have to do that. That is not my function as a soul. And if people see things that I do as selfish, and they see me as not being selfless enough, that in itself is also a compliment. Being an empath that struggles with boundaries and often overgives, bends over too far. Recognizing that selflessness is an addiction. It's more of a disease to me and my soul than a spiritual elevation. Because when you're selfless, let's get real here. Let's get very honest here. You're less of yourself, and you're less of yourself because you want to manipulate the way people see and feel about you. You want them to like you, so you go out of your way to do the things that you know will produce the results that you want. So is it really selfless? No, it's selfish. A low-key, hidden type of selfishness, one that manipulates. So yes, I do nice things for others, not because I'm selfless, but because it feels good to me. Because it makes me feel good as an empath when I help someone else and I can feel the joy returning to their lives. It's a selfish thing, and I'm no longer ashamed to admit that. That's the kind of selfishness that's beautiful. Because in my selfish tendencies, I'm still assisting, but there's truth to it. I know why I'm doing it. I'm not hiding behind the excuse of spiritual evolution and selflessness. I don't want to be less of myself. I want to be more of myself, because the way my selfishness is expressed, it's a very healing thing for others. And so is it bad? And then you'll come across people who want to tell you that it's self-centered. Well, if I'm not at the center of my world, who is? You want me to revolve around you. Does that make sense? You should be self-centered in a balanced way. It's when your self-centeredness is not healthy that it becomes ugly to witness. I should be the center of my world. I'm the one creating it. The world I exist within is the Emmy show. This is my show. I should be the star of this show. Does that mean I'm more important? No. That means you have to recognize you are the star of your own show. And sometimes we collaborate and we co-create content that other people can witness. And this goes beyond videos on social media. I'm talking about real life. I'm talking about real life. You should be the center of your own created reality. And you shouldn't feel bad about that. You shouldn't feel bad about satisfying your needs, about wanting to feel happy, wanting to do whatever it is you want to do. Unless your intention is to hurt someone else, to somehow squash another person, why should you feel badly? Why should you be made to feel badly? Oh, that's a powerful moment. Jamie says I'm damaging. I've just had this mind opener that I'm doing this to someone, but to aid my own void, now I have to figure out how not to damage him when I leave. That's a powerful moment of recognition. How about you take the steps that are necessary to realize you don't have the power to damage him, that you don't have that kind of authority, that if he's to be damaged, that would be his choice. That would be his chosen response to the circumstance. And that's another thing that as empaths, we really also struggle with, this assumption that we hurt other people, that like we have the power to do something like that. We don't. We don't. That's something they're choosing. And it's not to say that you shouldn't take care in the way you address people, the way you interact, your chosen behaviors. But really, though, none of us have the power to do this to someone else without their permission. And whether it be a conscious permission or a passive one, the fact is they're choosing it. Oh, man. Yes. Setting healthy boundaries, not in hate, but in respect for yourself. Boundaries, someone had made a post a few weeks ago. I still don't quite know how to feel about it. I'm still kind of searching myself to see how it fits with my truth as I understand it currently. They had said, you speak about, and it wasn't addressed to me. It was just like, a general post, but it was like, you speak about unconditional love, and then you talk about setting boundaries. Boundaries create conditions. And it's like, that's true. That's true. So are you really capable of unconditionally loving if you have boundaries? And my current thoughts, and it can definitely shift and become a different thought on this, but my current perception is that unconditional love without boundaries is conditional love for yourself. Your needs have to be just as important, if not more important to yourself than that of someone else. So as you're unconditionally loving someone with no boundaries, because conditions create, or boundaries create conditions on that love, what happened to love for yourself? How does that work? And that's why I'm kind of like in a conundrum here. Like, I don't quite know how to process that. What came first, the chicken or the egg? It's a cyclical thing. It's a cyclical thing because if you have no boundaries for someone else, that means they can do whatever they want to you and you have to accept it. But if you have boundaries for yourself, that means you're not unconditionally loving someone else. And what if their attempts to encroach on your field, on your boundaries, is a gifted opportunity from that individual for you to begin to learn how to love yourself? Love yourself in the very same way that you're willing to love them, without conditions, without restrictions. Right, Yellow Puke Road. If you're a mirror, the most empowering thing you can do for someone else is take care of yourself first. And then I thought about it even further, and I was like, well, what if that person grew up in an environment where they weren't taught about interactions, about limits, about any of that? And the way I see it, one of the most loving things you can do for someone else is help them understand the way their behaviors are received. So is it really a conditional thing to have boundaries, I like to think that I can still love people while having boundaries, that I can still accept you as you are and have that line and enforce it. I'd like to think that, and my thought on this might change. It might evolve into something completely opposite. But as of right now, I like to think that um, my current stance of this is what I allow around me. I'm not going to correct you. I'm not going to tell you not to be that way. But if you want to continue to interact with me, this is what I find acceptable and tolerable. And if that's not something you want to agree to, perfectly okay. But you can't stay here. You have to go out of my field. Okay? I'm not going to tell you how to run your own kingdom, but in my kingdom, we don't stick our finger in the peanut butter jar. Unwashed finger at that. you know and it's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about hearing each other and seeing how that perception fits into your perception. And I was going back and forth with this individual, not arguing, but like asking questions and seeing their stance on other things, because I wanted to fully understand. And I told them, I'm not too sure how to receive this post. It's intriguing to me. It's very intriguing. I obviously don't agree, and I disagree in a very respectful way. I don't want to correct you. I want to understand. I want to understand what prompted you to make this post, because maybe there's some modification that needs to happen within my own thought process to help me better evolve the way I see this world, the way I function in this world. I'm trying to understand how to feel about this, because currently I completely disagree. And maybe you've evolved a little bit further than I have and you see something that I don't. And maybe this post is making me feel this way because there's some possible flaw in my logic, and I need to explore this further. When you interact with people, if you can see the disagreement in that way, it becomes the most beautiful learning opportunity for everyone involved. It really, really does. When you get so pissed off that someone doesn't agree with you, what does that do? And if we're going to be completely honest, I've realized the reason I used to get pissed off, the reason most people get pissed off, is out of fear. It's cognitive dissonance at its most graceful. They have a low-key fear that they've been wrong this whole time, so they will very passionately defend whether they are right or wrong is irrelevant. They're just afraid to be dominated. And it's not even a domination, though. You know what I'm saying? It's more of a sharing of thoughts. It's an internal fear rising up. And what are you so afraid of? It's like that whole vaccine debate, okay? I'm not for vaccinations. I'm just not. I have my reasons, medically, ethically, all of that. I have my reasons. And I used to really go at it with people who are pro-vax. If you're so convinced that vaccinations prevent diseases, why do you need my agreement? Why do you need me to agree with you? If vaccines are that effective, what does it matter whether I'm vaccinated or not? I'm no threat to you. You're immune, remember. That's why you got vaccinated, for immunity. That's why they call it immunizations. So what the fuck does it matter if I'm vaccinated or not? If anything, I'm the only one at risk because your motherfucking ass is shedding. Why do you need me to agree with you? You're already shedding, okay? You're shedding that shit everywhere. Everything you touch, you're infecting. And people are like, "What?" Exactly. Exactly. Why do you need me to agree with you? So, I mean, that logic kind of transfers to every aspect of your life. Why do you need people to agree with you? If you are so convinced that you are living in the truth and you are right, let the fucking peasants have their way with their wrongness. It has nothing to do with you. You don't have to correct anyone. You really don't. You don't need anyone to agree. There are so many people out there, so many people out there who would never agree with the work that I do, the theories that I have. But let's face it, my theories are based off of my life experience. My work is based off of the things that I've lived through. So if someone were to come to me and tell me my body of work is bullshit, I'm a liar, I can't do things with energy, I don't do extractions, does that matter? Not to me, it doesn't, because I don't need your agreement to know my truth is mine. I lived it. I lived it. And I've had people say that, oh, she just makes it up. There's no real thing as parasites. She doesn't really do extractions. This is all bullshit. She's instilling fear. Really? Okay, if we're going to take away the political correctness, if we're going to stop using empowering terms, I do exorcisms. That's the large bulk of my work. I'm an exorcist. I exorcise demons from your soul. And I know I do because I was tormented by demons most of my life, shoved down the fucking stairs, bit, clawed, slammed against walls, attacked. I've seen them, I've felt them, I've had the marks on my body, eyelashes ripped out in the middle of the night, bloody lip, held down in bed. That's not a figment of my motherfucking imagination. I did not self-harm. And crazy people don't wonder if they're crazy. The fact that I spent most of my life wondering if I have psychosis tells me I'm not fucking crazy. So, do I need people to agree, to validate what I've lived through? No. Because I've grown enough to know I am not insane. Although I sometimes wonder, I am not insane. I have done the things that I have done. I have experienced the things I have experienced. I can do what I know I can do. And I don't need anyone to validate it because within me exists a spark of God. And God does not need permission or agreement to exist. I exist. I am here. I have my truth, and you will not shake me from it. And maybe if you take that in and apply it to your own truth, you will no longer need permission to exist. You won't need permission to be who you are. And you guys, again, I'm no different than you. It took me nearly 40 years to figure this shit out. Nearly 40 years it took me to figure this out. Despite being born this way, I did not have a moment of awakening. I was fucking born weird. Ever since toddlerhood, I have been this way. And my perception of me is what's evolved, not me. This is what you guys need to get. It's not you that's evolving. It's your perception of yourself. All this programming, all these things you're believing about yourself, that's a whole fucking lie, is what's being undone in your evolution. It's not the other way around. We live in such a convoluted reality. It's just, My grandmother passed a long time ago, and I had a conversation with her. And she's like, "You keep listening to the stupid ones." I was like, "What? What do you mean by that? You keep listening to the ones who haven't figured it out. And when you do that, you become one of them." And I was like, "Are you saying I'm stupid?" And she goes, "You're acting very stupid." Because this was years ago. I was crying about, I don't want to be weird. I just want to be normal. I don't want to be weird. And so her ass came and told me that you keep listening to the stupid one. Like, I got to think about this. What does she mean by this? I got to think on this. This is just weird to me. I don't understand. And she had to break it down. She had to break it down. Like, you're following the path of someone else. You're trying to apply the logic that worked for someone else's journey on your journey, and your journey is completely different. This is why you can't read those books. This is why you're not allowed to take those classes, join those workshops, go to those retreats, go to those festivals, participate in a paradigm you came here to dismantle. And I was like, but it's spiritual. And then in comes Michael, according to whom? So that's a huge, huge thing that became one of the most empowering questions. Most empowering question of my entire life. It completely shattered the framework of the slavery within me. According to whom? One simple question. 3 words. Completely undid all the programming. And man, I was a very, very obedient slave. No questioning. You have to do what you are told. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to go to church. You have to pray. You have to repent because you're broken, because you're sin, because you're not enough. You're not worthy. You can't get into heaven. You're going to all of this bullshit. And it's just 3 words, 1 question. According to whom? Another human being that's supposed to be shoulder to shoulder with you. How the fuck are they seeing more than you when you're on the same level? And here we're thinking they're on a pedestal so they have a higher vantage point and they can see further out and have more clarity. Bull fucking shit. We're all on the same level, all the same height, all on the same level. We're all looking at the person's head in front of us. How are you going to know more than me? All you see is the head in front of you, just like me. So that one little question made of 3 little words completely undid the entire infrastructure of my mental, emotional, spiritual slavery. According to whom? What?
You're blown out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mikey. Archangel Michael, and you guys, I will keep saying this. Archangel Michael does not tell you what to do. He simply asks the questions that you need to find the answers for. Should I do this, Michael? I don't know. Should you? Like, fucker, I'm asking you a question. Well, I'm answering you. Should you? According to whom? You get into an argument with someone. They try and attack you, so you snap back. That's your immediate instinctual reaction. You snap back, you stand up for yourself, and then you spend the rest of the day beating yourself up. I know better. I should have shown more compassion. According to whom? Compassion for whom? For the other person or for yourself? You don't think you deserve to experience this life in its totality, where you free yourself to feel organically? Do you always have to be controlled? Aren't you enough to be able to be free to feel what you feel. You don't think God loves you enough to give you the freedom to feel things and react. And someone had made a comment in one of the posts, because we were talking about this. It was months ago, and they were like, "And when you can control your response for every circumstance, you'll have mastered life." And I was like, "I don't want to master life. I want to live it. I don't want to live by freaking numbers. I want to live. I don't want to be a master. I want to be alive. I want to experience every moment, every little detail of this life of mine. I want to feel it. I want to experience it. I want to be fully present. I don't want to be a guru. I don't want to be on a pedestal. I don't want people following behind me. I want us to walk together as the equals that we are. And I want to feel and be present for every single part of it." And maybe that's what spirituality actually is: the undoing of this perception that you have to be anything or be anywhere other than who you are and what you are right now and here. Maybe it's the undoing of the programs that make you think you're not enough. Maybe what spirituality is whatever you want it to be, not some program, not some life by numbers, not painting by numbers. Did Picasso paint by numbers? Did Da Vinci paint by numbers? Or did they simply allow the colors to bring forth that which was already within them? I mean, think on it. Think on it. The people who stood out in history were the people who operated outside of the box. Actually, let me correct that. They are the people who operated as though there is no box. Isn't that what Jesus did? Not only did he remove himself from the box, he dismantled it. And then we spent the next 1,000 years redesigning the box. That shit is such a travesty. It's such a disrespect to what he ultimately gave his life for. Because I've read quite a bit of his true teachings. I've read the Dead Sea Scrolls. I've read quite a bit, trying to help myself understand. His message was love. It was not condemnation. It was not a hierarchy. The truth of Jesus' message was a reunification of self and soul, man and woman, reunification of peoples and nations. His message was love. He didn't become the box, Lauren. I'm sorry to correct you. His twisted, manipulated words became the box. That's why I can't participate in religion. I can't. It's not for me. And if it's for you, that's okay. If that's what connects you to your divinity, that's okay. My perception, my truth, my existence has nothing to do with yours. Keep going to church, keep praying. If that's what keeps you connected to your divinity, keep doing it. The word was made flesh and moved into our neighborhood. What if what if there was someone who thought, we could control more people if we take this guy's teachings? No one really knows what he said. We'll just say he said it. Could it be possible that that happened? I'm not saying that the whole concept of Jesus is a lie. I'm saying, could it be possible that there really was a man that lived who was then turned into an archetype in order to control, to perpetuate control? Could it be possible? Or I could just be, confused. Maybe he did say all those things. Maybe he'd never really existed. Maybe he's just always been an archetype. I don't know. No? Okay. Michael goes, that's a lie. Michael, stop. Okay, it is kind of a lie because I do remember. I do remember being there when this man actually lived. I do remember seeing what happened. I do remember after, because he didn't die on the cross, he survived. Oh, wow. Little boxes on a hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tacky. Am I the only one hearing this? That's deep. That's deep. So, yeah, I do remember. There was a man who did live. His name wasn't Jesus, it was something else. They renamed him to take his power from him. And he didn't die on a cross. He was crucified, he was tortured, and he survived by sheer will. And then he was transported and hidden. And these were memories that came to me, and I was like, that's crazy. What the fuck is that? His family was sent one way, and he went the opposite way, separated to keep them hidden, to keep them hidden. And later on, one of my dearest friends starts to talk to me about Kashmir, India. And I was like, Kashmir, that place is always so special to me. I don't know why. I've never been there. I know a few people from Kashmir and something about their eyes. I remember something about their eyes. Look it up. There's some people, apparently, they hypothesize that Jesus didn't die, that he was smuggled into Kashmir, India. So, do I need to convince any of you any of this? No. I remember it. Crazy, crazy, crazy stories. But I do remember it. That is a part of my soul's truth. I remember it. I remember traveling with his wife and children. It is all there if you know where to look. A lot of the truths are buried. A lot of the truths are buried. Everything accepted by the general public is merely a half truth at best. At best. So start Googling. Start Googling. I just saw the time. I did not realize I've been on for just about an hour. Thank you guys so much for sharing this space with me. Obviously, I'm not going to gym. I'm so annoyed. I want to go to the gym. Not with your collarbone, boo boo. So, yeah, I'm going to have to figure out how to entertain myself today. Maybe ride a bike with a helmet on, because Lord knows. Lord knows. So, if this resonated with you guys, please do give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do turn on that notification bell. Join me every single time I'm live. And I want to thank you guys so much for sharing this space with me, for allowing me to share my thoughts and just being present on my journey. So, love you guys. Bye.